Hello everybody, Eric at Flyin Miata back with another episode of Facebook Live. Today we're going to talk about sway bars, and I have a visual example right here. So the basics of one of these things, and they're pretty basic. You've got the lever arm, one on either end, and this is actually called a torsion spring. So what happens is when you go around the corner and this side twists this way and the other one twists that way, the torsion spring resists and helps keep the car flat in the corner. So let's take a look at this actual sway bar. It's for an ND Miata. This is the rear sway bar. You can get this by itself for I think about 129 bucks, and the full set, front and rear, for about 229. Make sure to check the website for most accurate pricing, just remembering off the top of my head. So let's go ahead and take a look at this on the car. So on the car, you can see here's the end of the sway bar. This is your lever arm, and the torsion spring goes across the middle, and it actually attaches to a suspension member on either side of the car. So what it helps to do is transfer load, transfer weight, and do exactly what its name implies: anti-sway, anti-roll, stabilizer bar. So as a result, your suspension doesn't deflect as much, the alignment stays more accurate, and transfers to more mechanical grip between your tire and the road. So you may also notice that there's holes. There's more than one hole in the end of this sway bar, so it's adjustable. So you can actually make it firmer or softer. So since this is a torsion spring, actually shortening the bar makes the torsion spring react more quickly, and lengthening the bar makes it softer. So what does that mean? So if we have one end of the car, let's just say the back end of the car, we make it really stiff, and we make this torsion spring react more quickly. That means that the rear end of the car is going to react more quickly, and that's what's called oversteer. So understeer, imagine if you're going at a 90-degree corner at 90 miles an hour, and you turn the wheel and the car keeps going straight. It's not steering as much as you thought it would. It's called understeer. So let's say you're going at the same corner and you turn the wheel and the rear end comes around. It's steering more than you want, oversteer. So when you stiffen the rear sway bar and say leave the front one soft or at medium or less stiff than the rear bar, the rear end of the car is going to react first, oversteer. So on the same token, if you move this to the softest setting and left the front bar stiff, then you'd get some understeer. So why does that matter? Well, if you're doing something like autocross, for example, where you're doing a lot of low speed, high maneuvering type of stuff, actually having a little bit of a stiffer front bar induces more grip on the front of the car. But if you tried to go faster with that same setup, you just understeer. So stiffening the front bar can help those front tires bite in when you're doing autocross or low speed, high maneuvering type of things. But in the real world, on the street, doing twisty roads, road trips, that kind of stuff, you're going to want to have them about equal. We have some recommended settings on these guys. For the ND chassis, we put the rear in the middle hole and also the front on the middle hole, and that induces just a tiny amount of understeer, just to keep things on the safe side. And it also keeps the rear end of the car a little bit more predictable for you, so that the rear end doesn't come around and surprise you right in the middle of a corner. So I've been yakking here for several minutes, maybe just 2 or 3. Just wanted to check in with Kyle back there to see if any comments or questions have come up.
I think you're doing a good job. No questions so far.
Okay. So another thing I'd like to point out is that with this Flyin Miata sway bar, you can see that the stock end link is still being used. It's the same thing on the front of the car, which means you don't necessarily need anything else when you purchase the kit. You can use your stock end links. Another part that's really nice about the sway bars is that you don't actually have to upgrade the rest of your suspension to use them. to see some performance gains. So these are a relatively low cost, high impact type of modification that you can do to the car with little or no downside, because it doesn't do much to affect ride quality. It just increases the flatness in the cornering, steering responses, handling responses. All positive stuff happens when you upgrade your sway bars. So we do carry an adjustable sway bar, or I'm sorry, an adjustable end link. And don't have one of those with me right now, but we're probably going to do another video about that. So if you'd like to see something like that, go ahead and leave a comment, and we'll get after that as soon as we can. So what else can I point out about sway bars?
Does the rest of your suspension make a difference on the sway bars you want?
So the question is, does the sway bar have an effect on the rest of the suspension that you want? Well, I like to think of it as a relationship. If you're planning on upgrading your suspension, so shock absorbers, springs, or even a full coilover kit, in some ways that can mimic a stiffer sway bar. But you're also asking those suspension components to do more work, because you're still dealing with the tiny stock sway bars. So best of both worlds is to upgrade the suspension and the sway bars at the same time. Now, it's not a two-way street. You can see performance gains by just upgrading your sway bars and leaving your stock suspension alone. But who wants to do that? You want to have as much fun as you can with your Miata. Take that Miata that was good from the factory and make it better. So the best of both worlds is going to be upgrading your suspension and the sway bars at the same time. So any other questions popping up? Okay. So we do carry these sway bar sets. We sell them individually, front and rear, for NA, NB, NC, and ND chassis. We put our own research and development into these things. We tested them in-house. All of our employees tried them out. So we know they work, and we know they're going to work for you. So I guess I'll kind of start to wrap things up a little bit, maybe chat just a little bit more to make sure there aren't any more questions coming through. I'll keep an eye on Kyle over there. But I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. If you do have any questions after this video is over, be sure to post them in the comments, and I'll answer them as quickly as I can. And come back next week at 2 o'clock, same time, same place, and we'll have another Facebook Live video for you. Thanks a lot. Have a great afternoon.